with all the big calls on all the big races. A warm welcome back. We filmed Summer in the Capital on a Friday morning. This is What a Shout, the Racing Post flagship feature weekend show, brought to you by our sponsors, Bet365. Dave Orton, thrilled to be back in the seat. Absolutely loving life at the moment. Goodness gracious me, did you even see a positive news story for racing on our website or in the paper this morning? Attendances rocketed up over Christmas. Let's celebrate, shall we? Great weekend action coming to you as well. 2 meaty handicaps. We'll even have a word about a sumptuous card on Sunday in Ireland at Punchestown as well. Don't forget, like, subscribe, comment and share. Absolutely nailed that one out there. That's what you need to do. Get involved interactively. That keeps the lights on here. What a Shout. And anything on Twitter, hashtag What a Shout. You know the drill by now. If you're new to the show, I shall introduce Robbie Wilders, the anti-postman, joins me back.
All right, Dave, welcome.
Collars again, I'm good to see it.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of mileage out of this new mint polo. But yeah, it probably needs a wash soon, actually.
Is your tipping mint, or does it have a hole in it? Oh, I'm good at this, aren't I?
Yeah, did all right, mate, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yourself?
You put something up for the weekend as well.
Yeah, Bomber Liston coming for a bit of support. He's actually £5 out of the weights in that Pertemps race.
Make it easy for yourself, Rob, why don't you?
Yeah, I was hoping Silviniaco Burlow wouldn't run, but I still think he's got a big chance.
Great to have Robbie with us then. Let's go up to Stoke from our sponsors, Bet365. He's back. It's Pat Cooney.
Yes, hello. And isn't it refreshing to have big fields and getting stuck into 20-runner handicaps? So a lot to look forward to over the weekend.
Absolutely. Loads to look forward to on the show. Let's get it up. Here's what's coming your way this weekend. We will be answering the questions from the crowd, would you believe it? And we'll be beaming into Epsom as well, but keep wraps on that for you at the moment. We'll go down to Downton Stables. Henry Daly, he's enjoying a fine time of it at the moment. Some great horses out there. 2 big chances this weekend. Henry, unmissable interview before 5 big race previews and those all-important weekend naps. Now, before we get on with the rest of the show, a little treat for you and maybe a little series going ahead. I don't know, let's see how we can do. Now, in the week, I was emailed by no less than our editor, Tom Kerr, who said, bear with me, a fan writes, listen to this, What a Shout with Dave Orton and Paul Kealy is a big hit. Question to Paul Kealy. If Facile Vega is possibly vulnerable in the Supreme, would you think the same if he was stepped up to the Ballymore? So is he vulnerable in either race, and will it happen? That was a question to Paul Kealy. You know, you would have seen, if you watched last week's show, Keel's a little bit of noise, more than that maybe. Keel's has got his talons out at the moment. So it's a ridiculous prize on the opening race of the upcoming festival. Champion bumper winner, unbeaten, won over Christmas. Odds on for the Supreme. Might not even run there. Loads of you gone absolutely bananas about this. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But that came from Mark from Munich all the way to the editor. All right? So we thought we'd do this. We'd answer it. And let's beam into Epsom. Here he is. Keels comes back on.
Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Thank you for joining us. We know you're a busy man at the moment. All the Cheltenham previews are about to start. And I guess, Keels, you're sharpening your knives and getting your tin hat on, are you?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, as soon as you say something like that about a hot favourite, especially one trained by Willie Mullins, you get everyone coming out for you. But, you know, let's face it, he won a champion bumper last year that hasn't produced as many winners as normal. In fact, it's had fewer winners than almost everyone for the last 10 years, and the strike rate from it is miles lower than every champion bumper from the last 10 years. So, you know, my argument is this. There must be horses out there that are much better than the horses he beat in the champion bumper. And the only decent horse he's beaten in over hurdles was Il Était Temps. Now, we already know that he is not a Grade 1 performer, having been beaten miles on several occasions by Vauban as a juvenile. So, you know, let's wait and see. Let's see what comes out. Obviously, it doesn't look particularly strong from Britain. There is rare addition who I quite like of Charlie Longston's, but, you know, it'd be a left field one, but given the stable. But the one I really like is Impere Pass, another Mullins horse who is running in the Moscow Flyer on Sunday. Only a 5-runner race, probably be odds on, but that didn't stop the likes of Dysart Dynamo, Min, Getabird, Duvan, Votor. And where did they all go after winning that? They went straight to the Supreme. This is his go-to race for a Supreme horse. So I'm very interested in seeing what Impere Pass does. He impressed the clock watchers over 2 mile free furlong at Navan on his debut for Mullins, and he looked really fast. So we'll have to wait and see there. If he goes up in trip, then yes, the same argument stands. The champion bumper form, those he beat, are not among the top hurdlers this season. So surely there are others out there that may be a fair bit better than the ones he beat last year. It doesn't mean he can't win. He obviously is unbeaten. He hasn't looked like getting beaten, and he is a very good horse. But surely there is something out there that can challenge him and be better than the horses he beat last year.
Having chatted to you about this on the show last Friday, Keels, I could tell you were going to sort of get your meat stuck into it. And your weekender column this week, of course, you actually crunched the numbers on the champion bumper. Now, despite the fact we've had the likes of Q Card, of course, everyone loves the champion bumper winner, don't they? This bloke, is bred to be highly, efficient as well over the sticks. Yes, he wasn't great at Christmas, but when you're talking about the likes of Envoy Allen and Q Card being the best of the last 30 years.
Well, yeah, you missed out Florida Pearl. Now, the point is, I judge horses by what they do when they go into open company. I don't care all that much about the novice company. It's interesting and that, but end of the day, they're running against one generation at a time. And it's when they go into open grade one company, when they're going in against horses who represent several generations, some of them have been at the top. That's where you judge them by. And in the case of the champion bumper, only 5 of the 30 winners managed to win a Grade 1 in open company, and only 2 managed to win more than 2, and only 3, Envoy Allen being third, managed to win more than 1. So it is not, it doesn't mean Facile Vega can't be winning juvenile novice hurdles, but let's see how he gets on when he goes out into open company, because, statistically it suggests that precocity is a big advantage for the champion bumper, but you're going to get caught up sooner or later, and that is what happens year in, year out. And, I get fed up with getting told that a champion bumper winner is a superstar in waiting, because it just happens so very, very rarely.
Yeah, so something of a red herring, guys out there. Let us know. Get your comments in below about all this. We know it's massively popular. Before I go to Robbie for a quick word, Pat, let's come to you then, because I think we all agree at the moment, with opposition thin on the ground. Yes, we have a potential superstar running on Sunday. We film on Friday. He's of course the most likely winner, isn't he? He's won the champion bumper. He's unbeaten. He does everything right. You're allowed to have an off day as well before you win. He'll probably go to Dublin. He'll be a warm order there. It's all about the price. And could he yet step up to the Ballymore?
It's entirely possible that he might do. I mean, Willie Mullins is sure to keep all options open with him. Much depends on the manner of his next performance, really, doesn't he? I wouldn't be too bothered about that bumper form, because, it was running terrible weather. It was really testing ground. And he did come through it very, very well. Okay, his hurdle debut win wasn't that eye-catching, really. But this is Willie Mullins we're talking about. He'll have done loads and loads of schooling. I'm like everyone else. I'm just very, very interested to see what happens in his next race. And if he jumps slicker and he proves that he looks the part, he's got that unbeaten tag, I can't see him going anywhere other than the Supreme. But going forward, would he want to take on Constitution Hill over 2 miles at Punchestown or whatever? I could see this maybe Cheltenham Supreme being his last run over 2 miles.
Oh, there we are. All right. And there has been some meat on the bones here, Pat. But let's get some prices from you then. What is he? 4 to 5 on for the Supreme. But what is he for the Ballymore?
He's currently 4th favourite at 13-2 behind Hermes Allen, Champ Kealy and Gaelic Warrior, the very well handicapped Gaelic Warrior if he goes on a handicap route. Facile Vega, 13-2, 4th in. And that's with a sort of an asterisk by his price. I think we're all on red alert if there are, stories circulating that maybe he'll step up in trip. I know the likes of Davy Russell was saying in a column that I was reading that he wouldn't be surprised if he might be more effective over the longer trip. So it's 13-2 with a very fragile asterisk by its name, just in case they all switch. But I think that's one for the 5-day deck stage.
All of a sudden, some racing professionals. Welcome back, Davy Russell, by the way. What a story that was in the week. Jack Kennedy, unfortunately, on the sidelines. Davy comes back in for Caluntra House, Gordon Elliott and Ireland. Like the cavalry, great stuff. All right, so Kills, listen, it may well be happening. Thanks for coming on, Kills, and answering this. We know at the moment it's a lay button with you. Have you hovered over that 13-2?
What, for the Ballymore? No. It's one of those that reflects entirely how unlikely it is he's going to run there, because it'd be a very short price. It'd easily be favourite if he was definitely running, or if he were going non-run and no bet. So no, I haven't. I think he'll probably end up in the Supreme, but let's remember he is bred for a trip. Stamper Vega, won 6 times at the festival over 2.5, and was arguably even better when finally stepped up to 3. So interested to see where he does end up. Like Pat, I don't see him standing at 2 mile forever.
Yeah, all right, Keels. Listen, Keels, absolute consummate pro as ever, and we know you love What a Shout. It's been great to have you on because we love you, Keels. But before you go, the love will be no more unless you give us a big hope for this weekend. Come on, what wins this weekend, Keels, for the viewers?
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of Not a Chance in the Warwick Classic, to be honest. Is that Alan King won the race with the same horse 2 years ago. Said he lost his confidence after suffering quite a bad hoof injury, and it's taken a while to get it back. But he's shaped well behind Lamilos. Bango on his return. That was in the race that he ran in before the Warwick Classic 2 years ago. Deliberately kept him fresh for this. He's £9 lower than he was 2 years ago. He doesn't actually turn 9 until mid-April either. So if he can get back to his best form, and there's no reason why he shouldn't, given his age, then he's a very well handicapped horse.
Brilliant. All right, so not just a question answered, a nap for you this weekend as well. And birds are quite literally tweeting for that one at Shay Kealy that we can hear in the background. Marvellous, Keels. We'll let you
He's
go,
over
mate.
there somewhere. Can you hear him?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, that's right. I mean, if it's anything like your household, Keels, I bet we better not translate that one, I don't think.
It's not the noise, mate. He said he craps everywhere.
Great to have Paul Kealy on then. Thank you, Mark from Munich, for getting involved. Of course, listen, guys, Mark wasn't sure where to send that question. If you want to know anything, and we want your questions answered, get them in below, or anything on Twitter, put them underneath the clips that you're seeing tweeted each weekend. Maybe, if they're that good, we'll come back and make this a feature. Right, thrilled to say we can beam into Downton Stables. Let's go down then to Ludlow. Thrilled to say Henry Daly joins us back on the show. Henry, if we're coming to you, it must mean you're in pretty good form.
Yeah, no, we've had a very nice time of it this year so far, and long way to continue.
19 winners from 84 runners on the board then. Quiet time at the minute, but we'll get to that at the end of the show if you don't mind. I suppose when you come back into sort of October, maybe even earlier than that, when the gigantic news of the even bigger Hillcrest was staring you in the face, missing for the season, everyone was so excited about him, Henry.
Look, unfortunately, I've been doing this too long now that you get used to the disappointments as well as the ups and the downs of the game. And of course, when you're that big, you're always slightly more susceptible to injury than most. It's just one of those things.
Well, I feel his pain, let me tell you that much, if that's how we're gauging everything. So, Henry, I suppose it was a slow start to the season for you. Just a quick word on him. Are all future plans on hold, or...?
Yeah, no, he was scanned. I talked to Mick. He's back at Trevor Hemmings's. I talked to Mick Meager the other day. They scanned him the other day, and the scans are very, very good. They were very pleased with it, and he's on his rehab, and everything's going according to plan so far.
All right, okay, that's a word on Hillcrest, and they'd be throwing tomatoes at the screen if I didn't ask you about him, because everyone will just fingers crossed he gets back in one place, because imagine him over a fence, viewers. Right, Henry, it wasn't all doom and gloom, of course, because you lit up Christmas. You're currently running in the last 2 weeks, according to the Racing Post website, our website, the Run to Form, you've got a 25% strike rate. It's fair to say that Bleckensop has caught the attention of many, Henry. He's become an equine cash point. This was an old school job, wasn't it? Get him into a handicap and watch him go.
I wish it were that simple. Unfortunately, he spent his formative bits in a bumper and then running him over hurdles at the beginning of through last season. He was just very, very keen. Hence, we ran him over 2 miles because he was never going to get home over what was. I mean, you only have to look at his family. What was a further trip was required, but he was very, very keen, and so we ended up almost by default. He got very well handicapped.
He certainly did, and of course we saw it at Newbury when they went absolutely no gallop whatsoever, and he scythed through the pack under a very confident ride and still looked like he had loads to offer. I mean, how much did he go up for that, Henry, first and foremost?
8. He started the season off 104. We're now 131.
Charles Burns, eat your hat, I think we can say that. Well,
we've got a bit of a way to go yet.
Well, maybe. Well, you say that. So he's got no future entries at the minute, but listen, he's hot on everyone's lips. I mean, you've got to be working back from something, haven't you, with him?
There's a race at Ascot on the 21st that he might look at. He will get further. He doesn't need, or hasn't appeared to need to yet. Really, there's another race again at the next Ascot that might suit. There are various options for him. He is still relatively well handicapped. Unfortunately, the Lanzarote just came a week too early. But that's the way it goes.
And the excellently named Rapper was another good winner for you over the Christmas period as well. And he is a horse that has always promised to land a biggie. Is it going to be this season?
I hope so. I think obviously the fitting of the cheek pieces on New Year's Day just made a huge difference. It made it much easier for the jockey to put him in the race where he wanted him. I mean, they went down to the first and he was actually last. It wasn't the plan, but they went very, very fast. And then he crept into the race all the way through it and travelled very, very much better than he's done, well, almost for the last year and a bit. So obviously it's helped.
And when you look at, a winner like that on New Year's Day at Prestbury Park, of course, he was 7th in the Pertemps final at last year's festival. Are we working back from the ultimate, dare I say?
I think probably we want further. There's an option of this. I think it's now called the Scottish National at Musselburgh, the IDA. I think that the Grand National Trial at Haydock, probably the ground would be too deep for him there. I don't think he wants back a heavy ground. So I think the Ultimum is not really on the radar at the moment, no.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I thought he might be. I mean, maybe the spring ground might be for him. I can definitely see the idea, by the way.
Cheltenham isn't everything.
Okay, the first mention of that, and this is where I come in. So they were your runners over the Christmas period. It was great to see you banging in the Saturday winners, Henry. Popular operation. What have you made of this season so far? You say Cheltenham isn't the be-all and end-all. Are there green shoots of recovery? I mean, we were talking off air before we came on, and I said you might have seen the story this morning on your paper, Friday morning, of course, on the website, about how attendances were rocking up. Dare I say it, a good news story for racing.
It was fantastic. And, all these things, we are, as we were talking earlier before we came on air, that we're really good in racing at knocking our product. But actually what people forget is racing manages to employ a great number of people who have a great deal of pleasure out of their employment. Well, life's not too bad.
No, absolutely. We're sometimes afraid of our skin in this industry, aren't we, as quite a few leading figures are saying. So onwards and upwards in 2023. Now, one of the horses that I neglected to mention that really kicked off your Christmas period, your Doncaster winner, who does turn up in the Leamington tomorrow, Grade 2, often something of a pointer for the Albert Bartlett maybe at Cheltenham. You say Cheltenham isn't everything. He's got a little bit to prove on the ground tomorrow, Henry. It could be a bog there. I know you were 50-50 in the week whether you go. We're thrilled to see him lining up.
It really was only about 50-50 because it's just a question of whether it's come a bit soon after the race at Doncaster, not anything to do with the ground. I'm very fascinated to run him on the ground because it's happened that way this year. We haven't run him on soft stroke heavy ground. I don't know what it'll turn out to be in the end, but I think it'll be a benefit to him, not a hindrance, but proof of the pudding will be in the eating there. We'll see.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's around about 10-1 with our sponsors, Ben 365, Henry. If he goes on the ground, his Weatherby form got a big boost in it because the second hosed up next time. Lofty RPR as well. I'm assuming because of his point form, which came on good ground by the way, viewers, that this is embryonic chaser stuff here. Yeah,
he's a big unit. So you would like to think that fences will come fairly naturally to him.
I imagine next to Hillcrest and that famous stick, of course, that you had to increase, everything looks like a midget now, doesn't it, Home?
He's not far behind him. He is a little way, but he's not far. He's a big horse.
Well, Adrian Heskin looks like he's in for a good spin there, viewers, that's for sure, and we wish you luck with that. Now, in the classic chase, and this is a project I've been very keen to talk to you about, because we've mentioned Bleckensop, and the Nixons have, of course, bred many, many horses along this line, including, is it his half-brother, Fortescue, or is it full brother?
Yeah, half-brother.
Yeah,
half-brother.
Half-brother. Well, I'm half skint now because of this bloke, Henry. So what are we going to do with him? Because I backed him. I think I let him go on his first run, and I got slightly encouraged when he ran, of course, over the national fences, thinking, all right, if he'd have been better at the start, there's a big E in him. You put the pieces on him in the Welsh National. I was beaten after a fence.
Yeah, and I don't know. It was just basically an unmitigated disaster. But actually, like a lot of horses that day, for some reason, they never got into it, and he certainly didn't. And obviously hoping tomorrow it'll be a better result, because it really was appalling at Chepstow.
Hugh takes the ride, doesn't he? Of course, he's closely connected, of course. And if we could just line him up in the top 5 over a first couple of fences, I'd be getting very excited. He's well handicapped, isn't he? And you never know. Some horses take to Warwick, don't they?
Yeah, and I think a lot of jumping. He's always jumped very well, and I think that will play to his strengths.
Yeah, all right. So listen, I'm sticking with this project. I hate to tell you, by the way. So there you go. Have we got any dark projects for our viewers to? You've had a couple of bumper winners this season, Henry, haven't you? Have you got a young name for us potentially on the conveyor belt?
I think, in all honesty, the horse that won the bumper at Warwick with a penalty is pretty talented. I have very, very few horses who win bumpers first time out. For me, it's just what I do with them. And if they are talented enough to win first time out, which Bowens Park was, it's a good indicator that they have a more than a modicum of ability. The fact that he then went to Warwick on New Year's Day and won what looked like a goodish bumper in bad ground, he doesn't want that sort of ground, was hopeful. Well, yeah, I'm thinking he's quite talented.
Yeah, of course, the same as Hillcrest. Don't want us to go there, but we know what he did earlier in his career as well. So I guess it's about minding him then, because he's bred to stay very well, isn't he?
Yeah, and there's unfortunately, when you win two bumpers, I say unfortunately, you get sort of pushed around, quite rightly actually told to go and run at either Newbury or Cheltenham or Aintree, or running all three if you want. But you do get guided there, and I'm not sure he'd be ready for Newbury. And it'll be interesting to see how he pans out during the rest of the season.
Yeah, all right. So that'll be a pointer for us then, guys. Basically, if he goes there, with these young horses, it's so easy to try and put a gun to their head and be tempted. We've got, if you defy a penalty, as you say, it's really tough out there, isn't it? Especially on these sort of decent bumper tracks as well, and Warwick is one. All right, so put that in your tracker, guys. Henry, it's always a pleasure to beam in and talk to you. I'm so glad that you had a good Christmas and New Year, and we wish you all the best here from the Racing Post, and what a shout for the year ahead.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant to have Henry Daly joining us. He's always got such a good smile, and he gets these store horses, Henry, doesn't he? That gently brings them along. He's got another one in the mould of Hillcrest, hopefully. We hope to see back over fences. Black and Sot's been winning the big race, isn't he?
Yeah, going on nicely. Quite interested in this unbeaten horse he's got in the Leamington, certainly. So that looks a cracking race, actually. Yeah, absolutely. All right, and as if without further ado, let's get to the big race previews. And we go to Kempton then, Sunbury-on-Thames. Their time to shine. This is a race that often cuts up, Pat Cooney. It looks like it's going to be run on softer ground than Kempton might be used to. It's the Silviniaco Conti, Grade 2.
Yes, it's quite unusual, isn't it? We're looking at Kempton on a Saturday over the jumps on soft ground, and therein lies the problem with this race, because Pick Dory, the favourite of Paul Nicholls, best form on better ground. Second favourite, Paint the Dream. You could possibly say his best form's on better ground. So maybe there's value elsewhere opposing them purely on the ground. I thought Pick Dory was impressive last time out, and he merits being favourite. But you're hoping he can get away with the ground rather than be fully effective on it. So you go through the race, you've got the reservations perhaps about the ground for the front two. St. Calvados is a talented horse, but it is ridden by Mr. David Maxwell, lovely fella, but not Harry Cobden, is he? So I ended up thinking, looking at the race, to me, the best horse in the race in terms of outdoor ability is Angel's Breath. Now, when Nicky Henderson had this horse, he was talking about this horse as though it was the best horse it had in the yard. Now, he hasn't run since December 2019, but there has been a few quid flying around for him at double-figure prices. He's now with Sam Thomas, of course. He's going to be interesting. Just a bit of off-putting, isn't he? He hasn't run for 1,121 days. I'm just going on his reputation. When he won his 2 novice chases at Ascot, it did look really, really good. I'd imagine he'd be fit and ready. I could take a chance with him, despite the layoff.
He is a fascinating runner, and I was getting lots of messages at the start of the week going, Pat Cooney well, Dave, why are Bet365 sticking out so much on Angel's Breath in this race? I think everyone wasn't sure how to do it. You guys were by far the biggest at the start of the week. He's now into 8s.
Absolutely, yeah, and therein it makes it all the more significant that there are people looking to have a few quid on at the prices. And I could see maybe he's the one that could shorten up. And of course, you've got no worries about the ground with him. He was a talented horse, remember. He ran in the Supreme against Classical Dream, and he was only second favourite, about 6-1 that day. So you know that he's got the ability. And I say he has that Nicky Henderson reputation from 3 seasons ago. He's in the why not section at the prices, I think.
All right, okay. So a fairly tricky puzzle is because, as Pat mentioned, Pic D'Orhy. If this was unusual Kempton ground, Pic D'Orhy would be, rightly, I think, a warm order. It's because the imponderables. We've got Clondor coming back, of course, haven't we? Who loves Kempton. He's probably, you have to say, being ready for the handicap next month back there. The former Racing Post chases off the same mark for that, by the way. He loves good ground. You're not going to get out tomorrow, so watch on him. St Calvados, of course, and
Cool
Cody took each other on at Ascot, and Maxwell couldn't hold St Calvados. We saw it on the way to post. Remember, we were covering at a race live, and he bombed his way to the start, and everyone's like, "This is going to be." He went 6s on in running, and he just ran out of petrol. And Cool Cody came heartwarming story coming back. Then he got Pate the Dream, who does seem his happiest going left-handed. So Angel's Breath is the fascinating one here.
Yeah, I very nearly postmaned him at the start of the week, Angel's Breath, because I know 365 were sticking their neck out going 16-1, where everyone else was about 8. I didn't think that'd last, so I sort of looked away. But really interesting horse. I will have a saver on him, to be honest, because he's got the Ryanair and the Gold Cup entry as well. Sam Thomas is a trainer who knows how to ready one.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
he's just a very good trainer, isn't he? And the fact he's getting weight from the field, he's just fascinating. And also, a lot of these you would pigeonhole as preferring slightly quicker ground. He's definitely not one.
I'm going to take a chance on him. I have to, I think.
Yeah,
he's got the entries, isn't he? He's in Ryanair and he's in the Gold Cup.
Yeah.
That first flow form in his novice chase is way better.
Yeah, I was going to say, first flow's obviously gone on to be a mid-160s.
He had a bad tendon injury. They didn't think they were going to get him back, and I wouldn't see it as a cast-off thing either with Angel's Breath.
No.
He's just had a whopping layoff. A couple of people sort of contacted me a week ago. Has a horse ever had a bigger layoff? Yeah, of course there has been.
Yeah, so it's a piece we run saying he's not run since the COVID-19 pandemic.
He's come out of it. He's been in a shelter base, isn't he? But all of Di Walter's horses are now with Sam Thomas.
Yeah.
Unless they're in partnerships like with the Potters and things like this. But Nicky and Alan King still train them. I'm just going to take a chance.
I get it. Yeah. I'm definitely going to have a saver on him, but Pic D'Orhy has to be the selection for me. I just think he's the rising star in the division. And you say about the ground. We do have him down as a better ground horse, but he's got all his form in France is on very soft ground. Right. He's ran a really good race at Taunton on soft ground about a season and a half ago. The last time I think he'll be fine on it.
That was overheard.
And obviously Kempton suits. He's 1 from 1 there. Beat Miller's Bank in the Pendle last season. Just really like what he's done this season. I actually thought he might be a bit of a dark horse for the King George. I didn't go in that. This is a better race.
Interesting.
It's just a really interesting race, to be honest.
And the stable couldn't be doing much wrong at the moment.
Exactly. And you often associate the stable with sort of dipping a bit this time of year because of the jabs.
And in this race, you're right, because this is inoculation time.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's Pic D'Orhy, but a definite saver on Angel's Breath.
All right, then we'll take flight with him, hopefully, and the Thomas stable. Okay, Pat, let's go to Warwick now. It's the Grade 2 Leamington. We spoke to Henry Daly about it. He's got Moon Hunter in it. But Bet365 fancy some others ahead of him in the market.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating race, this one. You can make a plausible case out for all 7 runners, I think. As things stand at the moment, Knowsley Road is favourite of Paul Nicholls and has been impressive in his 2 wins. But you can go through this race, Dave, and say, the other ones have been impressive in all their races as well. So it's very hard to get a proper handle on the race, really. They're all at levels. There's no real collateral form to go on. Knowsley Road is favourite, probably primarily because it says Paul Nicholls after his name. But there's others who have also been impressive. Ginny's Destiny, he's been quite good. He won this... Tom Lacey won this 2 years ago with Adramel. You look at Snake Roll, he's a nice horse. He was third to Tamoris to Haydock over 2 miles, trip too short. Stepped up well, won impressive last summer. And so on and so on. You can make a good case out for them all. I quite like Grey Dawning. Now, this one is trained by the Skeltons. And he won the handicap at Kempton on Boxing Day. And I remember that at the time, the Skeltons were having a terrible time of it that Boxing Day. They had quite a few get well beat. And this was a well-gambled horse in the last. And we're all thinking, well, I don't know, you'd be brave trying to back this one, given how the yards horses have gone. But he got up in the line, and it was a good, strong handicap, that. So he brings that high-level handicap form to the table. Grey Dawning would be a narrow preference. But look, if you fancy Givega or Moon Hunter, I wouldn't put you off them.
Looking down to see whether Gary Moore's won this before. He hasn't. It's not a good race for Paul Nicholls historically either in the last 10 years, and it does make you think about these inoculations. It's usually around about this sort of time where Paul takes a seismic. I'm winning everything to just going a little bit quiet. I remember this time last year, it went really bad for the stable, actually.
Yeah, we were all writing a lot of stuff about how bad he was getting on.
And then Dolos comes back for the Dolos race at Sandown in early February and it just wins at an unbelievable price.
He's always going to come back, isn't he?
Yeah, listen, he'll be watching from Barbados, I imagine, with a keen eye. Absolutely. I like Ginny's Destiny because I think that the race sets up for him quite well. I am interested to see how Moonhunter does, I must admit. Henry, spoke to him earlier in the week about whether he would be having runners at Warwick. It was a tough call, and I think hopefully he's a tough horse. I think Gavega's very interesting as well, isn't he?
Yeah, unbeaten. I mean, he's one of a few unbeaten ones in there. I like to think the race is going to be better than it has in the last few years. The last few wins have been a bit underwhelming. Mr. Whip, Beatstown, Mossy Fen, Adramel, Staghorn. There's not really
be a bit of a.
I wouldn't even call any of those even Grade 2 horses. So I'm hoping that we're going to see a pretty strong race. I agree with what you're saying at Ginny's Destiny. I think it'll set up well for him. There's quite a lot of pace in this, and he can just be held up and just cruise into it. He just travelled so well when he won over the course and distance.
You have to think Knowsley Roll will be bang up there when he and Gavega, of course, last time. I wouldn't be surprised if Gavega tried to take a lead last time. He'll love the ground. We spoke to Gary Moore about him earlier in the season. He said, more slop, the better for that chap. Pat Cooney, let's go to you, and let's go to the feature handicap. It's Lanzarote time. Will the sun be shining on your selection?
Yes, and look out for the each-way terms on this race. We're actually first 6 places on the race. So given there's 20 runners, there's great each-way angles in the race. Market leader is Outlaw Peter. Paul Nicholls, he's been okay in his races. He doesn't strike me as a particular bargain, though. The market is all about Green Glory, really, his current joint favourite, trained by Charles Burns. Now, we're all running scared, and quite rightly so, of a Charles Burns runner when they come over here. But he won at Leopardstown over Christmas, and there was a lot of money from that day. Eventually, he won easily enough, but that was off a mark of 111. So what's he on at Kempton? Well, he's on a mark of 127. Should he really have gone up £16 for that win? Don't know, but Charles Burns was aware of it, and he's still coming over. I don't know. He's worth a saver, put it that way, whichever way you come at it from. The horse we have laid since the final decks came out was Dubrovnik Harry, trained by Harry Fry. 16-1, halved in price. Now, he got beat over fences on his reappearance, so that was a bit of a random one. I quite like a horse in the race. Hermes Boy always give a chance to a Jane Williams off the bottom weight there, particularly how the stable are going. But the one that catches my eye to agree is number 18, Scarface of Joe Tizard. Highly rated horse, this one. Probably going to be better over fences, but ran at the festival, ran in grade races at last season. 2 from 2 this year. Yes, they were egg and spoon races. He looks a talented horse to be running off a 1-2-6 to me, and the stable are going great guns again. So I'm more of a Scarfacer than I am an Outlaw Peter at prices.
I love it. Okay, happy days. Listen, you heard me oohing there because I think he is the dark horse in the race. Historically, this is a massive trend race, this. And if you look at the excellent
Kevin Morley,
Kevin Morley, if you look at him, and I'll tell you one thing, Rob, that struck me in the last 5 or so years, having been a trends follower for a long time, is how many operations seem to be nailing what trends are needed for what races. Trends always change, but I must admit, like even the favourite coming from Ireland, you imagine that Charles Burns has just got a longer term plan, even way beyond this, I would imagine, for him. But it ticks almost every box. The one that he falls down on is having so many runs. It goes to a very lightly raced improver. Unexposed, 1 handicap win, no more. That's 10 out of the last 10. You've got to have form on a right-handed track as well, which is important. He was a massive eye catcher in some novice races, in some very decent novice races. I just wonder whether he's shown his hand a bit. I might be wrong. And of course, it's Burns, isn't it? And Philip Burns is really making an impression as well. Outlaw Peter, for all the reasons that Pat said, is looking a bit vulnerable. But if you remember the race last year, when Cobbler's Dream won, who takes his chance and isn't without a chance, actually, and he's another one back over hurdles. He ticks all the boxes, Outlaw Peter. And last year's race, the best horse in it was probably a Gelino Bello, and yet he couldn't win it. Yeah. And I'll just pass on him. And Dubrovnik Harry, It's Harry Fry again, ticks all the boxes, very interesting. At the start of the season, a lot of people were putting him in their 10 to follows, thinking that he might make up into a Grade 1 performer over fences. He didn't work out. They're quickly coming back, probably to retain a novice status, I would imagine, going forward. But is he still well handicap? I'll back him, but I am also going to go with the Pacino horse, Scarface.
Yeah, Scarface, he was entered in the Leamington early in the week, but he would have had to carry a £3 penalty there.
Leamington winners in here, Staghorn from last year.
Yeah, he is,
He's not without a chance either.
First time out, I'd be a bit concerned. Archie Watson does very well with his jumpers.
Nick Schofield, good to see him come back, by the way.
Yeah, friend of our producer, Dave Media as well.
First ever What a Shout was done with Nick Schofield.
Is that true?
Yeah, amazing it ever
got
off the ground.
How old is the show now?
It's, I don't know, 2019 Christmas we did the first one.
It's flown by, isn't it?
Absolutely flown.
Yeah, I get the Scarface angle. Second season novice, I quite like. But I was drawn to Petite Tonnerre.
Yeah, Kills has put him up, I think, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, he did actually in the weekend or in the week. Yeah. I mean, he just looks quite well. I like the way he travelled in that Newbury race last time when he was second to Red Risk. I think he's going to be a bit better on a slightly softer ground. He's unbeaten on soft. He's only run on sort of quickish ground for John Joe O'Neill.
Yeah.
But he's thrust into a Grade 1 juvenile on his second run for the stable. He's off 141. He's only 5.
Young horse.
Yeah, he's got the right sort of profile for it. I like to think we've not seen the best of him, and with 365 going 6 places, double figure odds, don't think you can go wrong each way.
Learning this game, aren't you, Robbie Wilders?
Oh yeah, we've got to big up our friends at 365.
Tell you what, it's time has flown since What a Shout started. Time has flown since you used to name check other bookmakers on this show. So
yeah,
we're doing something right.
I always make sure I address 365 prices when we're talking about a race rather than best odds.
It's the Lanzarote. It's going to heat up the card tomorrow, that's for sure. And it's always a race form that that works out extremely well as well. You can do it. Cheltenham Festival's Copper's Dream just touched off, wasn't he, when he went to follow up in March. All right, that's the big one there. Again, get your tips in below. We'll read them out. Don't forget to keep your questions coming for next week's show as well. But we must now go to the feature handicap. It's going to be a right old slog, this, Pat. We've seen national winners coming out of this in recent years. One for Arthur, great memory there. Who wins this year's Classic Chase?
Well, I think we might need a few cracks at it, but it's been a pretty wild betting race all week. And currently, as we record in Friday morning, Mr. Incredible is favourite, trained by Willie Mullins. So that's very significant in that respect. Form figures RPB. When have you ever seen a favourite for any kind of a horse race with form figures RPB? And to clarify, the R is refused to race. And this is a horse, he must be quirky. He used to be trained by Henry de Bromhead. I get the talents there. When he came over to run at Newbury last year, he was actually 11 to 10 favourite to beat Ahoy Seigneur. Now, he got well beat, but he's running off a marker 142. He hasn't had much racing over fences, just the 5. I actually find him very hard to fancy, but I have to respect the connections. There has been good money around for him. But I'm going to go elsewhere. I actually like the look of Get Upon Collonge. I think he's an interesting runner. Richie McClernand, an ideal type of jockey. He won this race a few years ago. Progressive 7-year-old, he appeals to me. Actually, the one I really do think is the one that could win this is Lord de Menil. I want more rain for him. More rain, the better. He ran very well behind Lamilas at Bangor. Lamilas came out and won the big one at Newbury last time out. He's that type of horse. You've got no stamina worries with him. And interestingly, he's ridden by Paul O'Brien. Now, this horse has only ever won 4 races, all 4 times with Paul O'Brien aboard. So he rode him last time out. It was an improved run. So the jockey booking's good. You stay all day, and he's one to certainly consider.
One of the most underrated jocks riding anywhere, I think, over jumps. Okay, Pat, I'll tell you what, Pat, your Guetapan Collonge pronunciation was a lot better than your Ahoy Seigneur. I'd love to go to Spain and order a drink over there. La Cuenta, Seigneur. That belongs in the manure, I think. All right, so we've heard from Pat there. All the characters are in this race, aren't they? Kills has obviously put up not a chance as well, who bids to retain it. It was weird. He's off the same mark as we got beaten in last year, and when he won it off, he was really fancy the year he won it, and then 14s last year, couldn't hardly pick a leg up.
Yeah.
So what do we like?
He's not. Yeah, I like Lord de Menil as well, actually. I mean, go through his top performances on RPRs. 3 mile 4 soft ground, 3 mile 6 soft ground, 3 mile 4 heavy ground, 3 mile 4 soft ground. He needs it to be a bog. He needs a long old trip. And he showed himself to be in pretty rude health on his return at Bangor, second to Lamilos. He was giving him a pound that day. Obviously, Lamilos won the Coral Gold Cup next time out. he's up a pound in the weights, Lord de Menil, but I mean, I can't imagine there's any horses anywhere near as well handicapped as Lord de Menil, unless Mr. Incredible is that. We just don't know. It wouldn't surprise you, would it? But you couldn't recommend him on what he's done in his last 3 runs. But Lord de Menil just seems the solid option each way.
Yeah, I think over in Ireland, you've got the Paddy Power Chase, and then you're a little bit stuck unless you want to go down Thyestes route and stuff like that. And Willie tends to, put a real worldie in that, but it's Paul Byrne, isn't it?
It's interesting. He's now got horses with Willie Mullins. I don't know if this is his first one, but you just know they're going to land some touches.
And he sold Winter Fog, didn't he, to him as well? And that hosed up, didn't it?
Whether it's tomorrow, I don't know. But just on recent form, you couldn't really. In our position, you can't really recommend a horse for that profile, can you?
You can't be massively confident in anything here because you've got 3 under through 5 who won the card last year, won the Grade 2 Novice, and he didn't get any further than the first after a messy start in the Coral Gold Cup.
Yeah,
you've got I Will Do It, who won first time out and then won the Welsh National and then has been given loads of time off. Yes, Greta Pankalonge is interesting. Nesta Park loves the track, not a chance. Definitely been laid out for this. Commodore, got to be better than that 5th on the way back. Even Volcano, the dual course and distance winner is interesting. One day, the moment I jump off him, Fortescue will bounce back. As we heard from Henry Daly, he's just a bit of a mitigated disaster, he called it in the Welsh National. But he could be interesting. Dingo Dollar will have his supporters. This is a right old race. But none of you have mentioned what I think will win, and that's Grumpy Charlie.
Yeah,
under James Bowen. And he looked like a horse that's ready to finally, and he'll love the slop. He's got some decent novice hurdle form. They ran him in a Supreme, I think it was, and Chris Honor's got one here, and James Bowen takes a ride. He'll do for me. Again, let us know where you're going to go down below. The final race preview for you then, a couple of cuts up. So we decided to chuck in the 3:35. It's a Pertemps qualifier, Pat Cooney.
Yeah, and when you see qualifier, normally an alarm bell rings with this race. So this is definitely a case of follow the money. We've a couple of Irish horses from Gordon Elliott coming over, Cider Burley, Level Never Ending. Level Never Ending, he seems badly handicapped comparing Irish to English. So maybe a watching brief on them. Market leader is Ashtown Lad. Last time we saw him, he was over fences, the Grand National fences, and winning the Beecher Chase. He won that off a marker 138, so he's over hurdles off a 135. He was a decent hurdler in his novice days, so you'd have to make him, a worthy favourite, really. But whether it's part of the plan to not run over fences again between now and the Grand National, that's up to the Skeltons to ponder that one. But he is a well-handicapped horse. Is he better over fences and hurdles? Well, probably. Market leader, I'm looking elsewhere, really. I think Glimpse of Gala has a chance here for Charlie Longston. She ran very well over Christmas, winning a mare's hurdle. Gets on very well with Bradley Roberts, claiming 7. He's won on her a few times and ridden her regularly. That £7 could just be invaluable to me come the off, but it's a race to follow the money. There's horses who are going to use this as a stepping stone to Cheltenham. You have to finish in the first 4 to be a qualifier for the race. So it'll be interesting to see how the market stacks up. But Ashton Lad, a worthy favourite. I quite like the progressive mare, though, Glimpse of Gala at her price.
After he's winning the Beecher, Ashdown Lad is now £9 lower over hurdles, so they're coming here to try and, I imagine it'll be all roads lead to the National for that chap, but they're, getting him out, this could be very good placing, couldn't it? Ronald Pump is interested coming over. Now, Gordon usually enters loads in this, and he's never won it before, which tells the tale.
7 at the start of the week.
Cider Burley is now £4 lower than when he was 3rd in the race last year. We know he's the Pertemps horse, right? And no matter how old he seems to get, he always runs a blinder in it. Glimpse Scholar is quite interesting. Ronald Pump's quite interesting coming over as well. He ran better than the eye maybe told you, I think, on first glimpse, if you're just looking at the finish of the race last time. I think that was Clonmel, wasn't it? And he is interesting. But you might just have found one here, and it's not Cider Burley, it's the Bomber Liston. You're hoping that he ducks in and takes the prize. He's 128, isn't he? He's got to be going up to get in.
He's 128. He's actually rated 123. So I was looking at this at the start of the week, knowing full well that if Cider Burley runs, he's going to force quite a few to race from out the weights. And, I mean, Cider Burley's finished 4th in this last 2 of the last 3 years, I think. But we know he's a spring horse. He's shown nothing this season, but he normally never really does. You imagine he's going to probably finish 4th again. But in these kind of races, I'm always looking out for low-weighted runners that need, if the final is the end goal, they need a big old climb to get in.
Yeah.
And this horse just does seem well handicapped, even from £5 out of the weights.
He was a bit keen at Kempton on his return. That was on Boxing Day. That was in the Grey Dawning race. So we'll get a steer on that form thanks to the Leamington.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
If he settles a bit better and just gets a bit slicker, which he probably will, I think you might be on the right one.
Yeah, he's just completely unexposed and just in stable tours. I've always had half an. Nick Ensign always seems to be quite enthusiastic about him, but he's not really shown that on the track. They ran him at the Punchestown Festival last season after about 9 months off. He didn't run bad race. It's always hard in the 25 runner.
He's always been on my radar, right? Because I remember doing a What a Shout on a Friday, and then this is a weird one, and I had to go and pick up a mate from Borough Market, which is just down the road from where we film, and he was running in a bumper at Catterick, and today's the day, and he cruised into it, and he got touched off by a horse of Peter Atkinson's. I can't remember the name. Apologies for that, but I've always been sort of sour about him ever since that, having humps on. but
and you're warming to him now.
But I think he is this. He was always thought to be, graded class. I think so. I'm going to be with him.
Yeah.
So not the sort of race you associate with the yard necessarily. Got on the blind side as well, keeping the weights down.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying about Ronald Pump as well. Something we should add is that only Ashtown Lads the only one that's qualified for the final, so they all need to be on it. But Ronald Pump, I just wouldn't give up on him. It's his second run for his new trainer, but He has been a bit disappointing this year, but he hasn't run heavy in quite. I know he ran heavy.
He came there on the inside last time, and everything else was on the outside. It's funny old ground.
You don't have to go back too far to some really good form. Like he nearly won the Leinster National about 10 months ago last March, beating on the line.
If he got to the final, people would be looking at him for the back class angle in this race.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, second in Stayers Hurdle a few years ago.
We could go on and on, couldn't we?
I like these qualifiers, and I think it's a good thing that the terms have been reduced to 4 places rather than 6 to qualify.
And there will be people shouting at the telly, going, "Robbie Wilders and Dave Orton are backing the green and gold of JP to win a Pertemps qualifier."
But crucially, he needs to rise.
He does.
He's so low weighted.
All right, let's hope he can get up off the floor then and deliver the knockout punch. That's our final race, the Bomber Liston for us. Okay, it's that time where we give you our biggest hopes running anywhere for the panel this weekend. And I'm going to go to Kempton. And in the 130, you can back Sam, hoping to give Cool Cody a bit of a boost for the Evan Williams stable. He should go off about second favourite, I think. Better than his form figures so far. This is a warm-up for him. I think he's going to strike here. Everything lovely for Sam and Evan Williams. Yourself?
Nice, I like Sam as well. Going over to Ireland, 2-12 at Ferry House, Epsom de Hoo. Interesting, he was entering the Dublin chase yesterday. He's run off 147 and he returned from 13 months off with quite a good run behind a Nergamine in the hilly way. He was beating a fair way, but that's no mean feat, is it? No. I just think, he was a progressive horse a couple of seasons ago. He's been lightly raced since. He's lightly raced overall, really, to be fair. But, I mean, Gigginstown retaining ownership of a handicapper that's about 9 years old, I always think it's quite significant. And he's opened up a 3-5 price, I don't know, but he's definitely not going to be favourite. I think he'll be around 6-1.
Lovely. All right, like that. A trip to Ireland then. Okay, where's Pat Cooney going?
I'm off up the A1 to Wetherby in the 232 for number 4, Iroko. Runs in the JP McManus colours. And he is ex-French. He ran in 2 races in France. Ran well, but beaten in them both. Came over to the UK and ran in what we would deem Triumph Hurdle races and showed a degree of promise there. But he won over the course and distance at Wetherby in November, and he won very well. There was a lot of money around for him that day. He won off 1-2-1 that day, won handily by about 2 lengths. He only went up 7. He strikes me as a real progressive horse, follow till he's beaten. And he's got the excellent Kevin Brogan aboard. So I like everything about Iroko in the 232 at Wetherby.
Yeah, I like him as well, Pat. There's definitely more to come from him, I think. I was with him that day and he looked beaten, didn't he? Yet he pulled it out when it mattered. All right, there's your 3 horses. Call them what you want. Trixie, call it a treble. They're our best hopes this weekend. Don't forget you can bet all these horses through the Racing Post app. Well, sadly, that is all we've got time for on this week's What a Shout. It was good fun, wasn't it? As ever. That's what we want to have here on the show. Great to have you watching with us as well. Great to have Henry Daly beaming in. He's always got a smile. He's got a good sense of humour, Henry. And things are going well for the yard. Good luck for their runners, of course, this weekend at Warwick. Great to have Paul Kealy coming on. If you want to get your questions in, do it below. That's how you do it. We will get the guys in the gallery, the production team. Believe it or not, we have one. They will go through them all and we'll pull them out next Friday if they're worthy enough. Facile Vega. But that got you going, didn't it?
Nice little feature, that, yeah.
You enjoyed it, did you,
I do,
Mr.
yeah.
Wallace?
It's nice. I've never done a show with Kills before. I don't know if we count that, but...
Yeah, and we're all becoming used to your mint green top as well, which is Robin Hood
I need to expand my armoury. I've got another sort of funky, much funkier than this actually for RP Live tomorrow that you've not seen before.
Ooh, so, all right, okay.
I'm sure you'll rip me for it.
This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm here for. Pat, great to have you this weekend again. When are you coming back down to the studio, man?
I'm hopefully going to be there next week, so looking forward to that.
Marvellous. It's onwards and upwards, isn't it? All great stuff. Don't forget, all the prices will be out there probably around about 1 o'clock this afternoon. If you're watching on a Saturday, they're all done for you out there, Bet365. Don't forget, of course, you can go through the app too. That just got better, didn't it? A reminder that you can download our free new app. We're building on it in 2023, all the exclusive content from the very biggest names. There he is. He comes back on. Still looks a bit like that, doesn't he, in fairness? And you can do that free. You can do that on the App Store, the Google Play Store itself. Don't forget, Gamble Responsibly this weekend. That is what it is all about, let's face it. And loads of sport out there. For myself, Dave Orton, I'm signing off. Enjoy it.